The auction hall was a vast gleaming structure suspended in the void of space, its walls pulsating with neon lights and holographic banners that displayed creatures from every corner of the galaxy. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved through the crowd, some towering with 6 limbs, others tiny with glimmering wings and eyes that shifted colors like liquid rainbows. Each had come to claim the strongest, the rarest, the most spectacular beasts for their own collections or armies. The air buzzed with excitement and tension like a storm waiting to break. The sound of voices, overlapping screeches and strange melodic calls, filled the space, and on elevated platforms creatures of incredible might were paraded for evaluation, some roaring with power, others slithering with elegance. Some aliens pointed at the beasts discussing their abilities, while others simply waved credits with careless luxury. Amidst all this spectacle, a single warhorse huddled in the corner. Its coat was dull and matted with patches of dust, its legs trembled as if the weight of the galaxy itself pressed down upon it. Its eyes flickered with fear and confusion. It had been bred for battle, yet it lacked the size and strength of the others. It could not lift its head proudly nor stamp with thunderous force. The auctioneer barely glanced at it, moving on to a hulking beast with metallic scales that shimmered with alien energy. The crowd ignored it too. They whispered among themselves, dismissing the horse as weak, unworthy of attention or purchase. The murmurs were like cold winds brushing past the fragile creature, making it shrink further into the shadows. Yet the warhorse did not entirely lose hope. Its instincts told it that someone somewhere might see beyond its frailty, that someone might notice the fire hidden in its chest that had not yet been awakened. The horse shifted its weight nervously, pawing the ground and snorting softly as it glanced at the passing crowd. The aliens did not understand the meaning behind those subtle gestures. They did not recognize courage or potential when it was not wrapped in immediate strength. In the midst of the chaos, a human girl stepped into the hall. Her eyes were wide with wonder, her senses overwhelmed by the cacophony of colors, sounds, and beings. She had never been to such a place, and yet she felt drawn to the quiet corner where the warhorse cowered. She slowed her steps, her gaze locking with the creature's eyes, and in that instant she felt a strange connection, a whisper of destiny that told her that this fragile being was different, that it could be more than what the aliens dismissed it to be. She felt her heart beat faster, her fingers itching to reach out and touch the soft mane. The crowd and noise faded around her, and the auctioneer's calls became distant echoes. She knew she had to act, even if others laughed or ignored her. The horse lifted its head slightly at her approach. Its ears twitched and nostrils flared as if it sensed the kindness in her presence. Its legs shook, but not from fear but from anticipation. The auction hall was filled with the most magnificent creatures in the galaxy, yet none of them had the spark that this human girl saw in the frail warhorse. She stepped closer and whispered softly, words it could not understand but somehow felt like warmth on a cold night. The horse inhaled sharply, its eyes brightening slightly, as if realizing that perhaps its fate was about to change. The human girl moved closer to the frail warhorse, her footsteps careful and measured, as if she were stepping into a sacred space. She could feel the tension radiating from the creature, its muscles tight and trembling. Yet underneath the fear there was something else, a quiet curiosity that mirrored her own excitement. The auction hall buzzed around her with aliens haggling and bidding on monstrous beasts, their voices a jumble of screeches, whistles, and clicks. But for her and the horse, the world had narrowed to just the two of them. She knelt slowly beside the horse, her fingers hovering over its mane. The creature flinched at first, as if expecting a harsh command or a sharp lash, but she only whispered gently, her voice soft and steady. She spoke words she had never spoken aloud before, yet somehow they felt right. She promised safety and patience, and told it that it would not be judged by others in this hall but by her care and belief. She extended her hand, and the horse sniffed it cautiously, its hot breath mingling with her skin, its nostrils flaring as it sensed the warmth and kindness radiating from her. The crowd continued to move past them, oblivious to the quiet miracle occurring in the corner. Some aliens sneered at the human girl, murmuring that she wasted her time on a creature too weak to matter. Others simply did not notice them at all, yet the girl did not care. She had felt something undeniable, something that drew her forward with irresistible force. She stroked the horse's mane softly, feeling the rough patches and knotted hair, but also sensing a hidden strength underneath, a heartbeat that matched her own in rhythm, and potential time seemed to stretch as she stayed there patiently, letting the horse come to her in its own way. Its ears twitched and its head tilted slowly closer until finally it allowed her fingers to brush the top of its head. The girl smiled, a tiny beam of light in her eyes, and the horse shivered, not from fear but from a strange and unfamiliar sensation, a sense of relief and understanding. It had never felt so safe in the presence of anyone, not in the hands of trainers nor in the chaos of its past, and yet here was someone who saw more than its weakness. She whispered again, telling it that it was not alone, that she would not abandon it like so many others had. The horse shifted its weight nervously but then nudged her gently with its nose as if responding to the promise. She felt the small movement deep inside her heart, a spark of connection forming something powerful and unbreakable in the midst of chaos. The girl and the horse remained like this for what felt like hours' time, stretching and bending around their silent communication. The aliens continued to overlook the warhorse. They laughed and pointed at more impressive beasts, and yet the girl did not flinch. Her eyes remained locked on the creatures. They spoke without words, a language only the two of them could understand. The horse slowly lowered its head, letting her hand rest against its forehead, its body relaxing just enough to show trust and willingness to follow. She smiled wider and whispered softly that this was only the beginning, that together they could face whatever the galaxy threw at them. Around them the auction continued its frenzy, but the girl felt nothing else mattered, for in that moment she had found her companion, the one she was meant to rescue and to transform, and the horse had found the one who could see past fear and frailty to the strength hidden deep inside. The auctioneer's voice boomed over the crowd, calling for the next creature to be sold, but the human girl did not move her gaze, never leaving the warhorse in the corner. She knew that this fragile being was meant for her, and that no amount of alien laughter or dismissive glances would change her mind. She reached into her satchel, slowly pulling out a pouch of coins, the metal clinking softly as she opened it. Her fingers trembled slightly, not from fear but from excitement and determination. This was her chance to give the horse a new life, to show it that someone cared and would not let it be forgotten. The crowd continued to swirl around them, oblivious to the quiet determination of the girl. She stepped forward, her hand holding the pouch high enough for the auctioneer to notice and the aliens to see. They paused for a moment, blinking in surprise that a human girl would dare bid on a creature so clearly overlooked and ridiculed. Many snickered, whispering that she wasted her savings on a hopeless animal, but she did not hesitate. Her heart pounded as she called out the amount she could afford, each coin a promise to the horse that it would never be alone. Again the auctioneer's antennas twitched and his voice crackled. As he repeated the bid, he looked over the crowd, waiting for someone to outbid the human girl, but no one moved. The aliens had already dismissed the horse, and their attention was elsewhere, focusing on bigger, stronger, shinier beasts. The girl's hand tightened around the reins as the auctioneer nodded his approval and declared the sale final. She gasped softly, feeling a wave of relief and joy wash over her. The horse's ears flicked forward and it lifted its head slightly, as if understanding that its fate was changing. In an instant, she stepped closer, her heart racing as she reached out to touch the horse once again. Its muscles were tense, but beneath the surface there was a spark of recognition, as if it knew that this human girl had saved it from a life of neglect. The girl spoke softly, whispering words of comfort that the horse could not understand but somehow felt like warmth spreading through its body. The crowd continued to chatter around them, but their voices faded into background noise, the connection between girl and horse eclipsing everything else in the room. With careful movements, she fastened a simple bridle and gently lifted the reins. The horse flinched slightly at the touch, but did not resist. She whispered, soothingly stroking its neck and chest, allowing it to feel the security and patience she offered for the first time in its life. The warhorse felt that it was more than weak, more than dismissed, more than overlooked. It had someone who believed in it without conditions, someone who saw beyond the frailty to the potential that had lain dormant, waiting for this moment. As she led it away from the platform, the aliens turned their heads, but the horse did not falter. It followed her willingly, its hooves clattering softly on the polished floor. The girl walked with careful confidence, feeling a mixture of pride and excitement for the journey ahead. She could see in its eyes a glimmer of hope, a spark of courage that had never been there before. The auction hall faded behind them as they moved toward the exit and the start of a new life. Together, a life where strength would be measured not by size or appearance, but by the bond between a human girl and a once feeble warhorse. Human girl led the warhorse out of the auction hall and into the open air of the alien city. The streets were alive with strange creatures and hovering vehicles, casting shadows across the polished pavement, but the girl's attention never wavered. From the fragile horse at her side she could feel the tension in its muscles, the trembling in its legs, the fear that had been ingrained through years of neglect. She whispered softly words of encouragement that it could not understand, yet somehow felt deep within its chest. She guided it to a quiet plaza, away from the crowds, where the wind blew gently, carrying the scent of alien flowers and ozone. The horse hesitated at first, its hooves stamping nervously on the ground as if unsure whether to trust its own strength or the promise of safety the girl had given it. She spoke again, softly coaxing it forward, each word a lifeline across the gap between fear and courage. She reached out to stroke its mane, and the horse flinched but did not pull away, its ears flicking back and forth, trying to assess her intent. Slowly, she led it through a series of simple steps. She asked it to lift its legs, to walk, to trot, and finally to canter. The horse wobbled violently at first, its legs uncoordinated and weak, but she remained calm and patient, letting it find balance in its own time. Her hands were steady on the reins, and her voice never faltered, providing a rhythm that the horse could trust, its body trembling but responding to the gentle guidance. First ride was chaotic, the horse stumbling every few steps and nearly tipping sideways, but the girl stayed centered and focused, whispering reassurance and stroking its neck as they moved. The horse snorted and shook its head, its breath ragged from exertion, yet it did not stop. It felt the pull of her belief in it, the certainty in her touch, and the calm determination in her voice, and slowly the wobbling became a rhythm. The fear transformed into cautious confidence. Hours passed like minutes, and the horse began to find its stride, the girl laughing softly each time it adjusted its steps and gained a little more balance. The plaza became a playground of trust, where the wind brushed through their hair and mane, and the sun cast long golden shadows across the ground. It was exhausting yet exhilarating, and for the first time the warhorse felt a spark of freedom, a sense of purpose and pride in its own body. By the end of the day, the horse was trotting steadily under the girl's careful guidance, its ears flicking forward and nostrils flaring with excitement. It lifted its head high, its eyes shining with something new, curiosity and determination mixing with joy. The girl smiled wide, her heart swelling with the bond that had grown stronger with each stumble and each word of encouragement. They were no longer merely horse and rider, but companions, united by trust, patience, and the beginning of an unbreakable bond. As the alien city lights began to glow softly, and the crowds disappeared into the night, the girl patted the horse's neck, whispering that this was only the beginning, that together they could face anything, and the horse nuzzled her hand as if agreeing, ready to follow her wherever the path might lead, ready to discover its own hidden strength and courage under her care. Days passed, and the human girl and the warhorse remained in a quiet clearing on the outskirts of the alien city, the sun rising and setting in brilliant streaks of color across the sky. Each morning she greeted the horse with gentle words and soft strokes across its neck and mane. The horse had grown stronger since the first ride, but it still hesitated at sudden movements and unfamiliar sounds. The girl remained patient, never pushing too hard, and always encouraging small victories, celebrating every step forward as if it were a triumph of the universe itself. She taught it simple commands, first asking it to lift its legs, to walk forward, to halt, to respond to subtle shifts in her weight, and the warhorse struggled at first, its legs trembling, and its body stiff from long months of neglect and doubt, but the girl's voice remained calm and persistent, her hands gentle on the reins, letting it feel guidance instead of control. She fed it by hand and allowed it to rest under the shade of glowing alien trees, letting the cool light filter through leaves shaped like crystals and casting sparkling patterns across the ground. As the days turned into weeks, the horse began to respond more quickly to her guidance, its trust in her growing. With each small success, it began to move with more confidence, lifting its hooves higher, its steps smoother and more deliberate. Its eyes no longer flickered with fear, but glimmered with curiosity and intelligence, as if awakening to the world around it. The girl watched in awe, her heart swelling as she saw the spark of something extraordinary hidden beneath its once frail body. They practiced together every day, the girl riding and leading the horse across fields and through shallow streams, letting it feel the strength in its own legs and the power in its own chest. She spoke constantly, offering reassurance, encouragement, and praise. For every movement, every attempt, every stumble was met with patience, and every hesitation was met with understanding and gentle guidance. Slowly the horse began to anticipate her commands, learning to trust not just her hands and voice but her very presence. It lifted its head proudly, and its muscles grew stronger, the once dull coat now catching the sunlight with a subtle Shamat night. They rested under the alien stars, the girl brushing the horse's mane and whispering stories of distant worlds and adventures to come. The The horse nuzzled her shoulder, listening attentively, as if understanding the promise of those stories and feeling the bond between them deepen into something unspoken yet unbreakable. The girl often traced gentle circles on its flanks, feeling its steady heartbeat and marveling at how far it had come from the timid creature that had cowered in the corner of the auction hall. With each passing day, the transformation became more obvious to those who saw them, the horse moving with grace and strength, the girl guiding it with quiet confidence and unwavering patience. They became a pair that inspired awe, not through size or power but through trust, courage, and connection. Their bond was growing stronger with every sunrise and sunset, and the girl knew that this was only the beginning, that the horse's true potential was still waiting to emerge, and that together they could face challenges beyond anything either had imagined. One morning, as the sun rose in streaks of gold and violet across the alien horizon, the human girl led the warhorse into a wide-open field, where the grass shimmered with a faint, iridescent glow. The horse moved with a new grace, each step deliberate and powerful, its muscles coiled with strength that had never been there before. Its coat gleamed like polished bronze, catching the light, and the wind ruffled its mane, revealing flashes of color that seemed almost magical. The girl's eyes widened in awe as she realized that the transformation she had nurtured was now visible to anyone who looked closely. The horse snorted and pawed at the ground, testing its own strength and balance. It lifted its head high and galloped across the field, its hooves thudding with a confidence that seemed to echo in the very air around them. The girl laughed softly, her voice full of joy, and she urged the horse forward, feeling the power beneath her hands and through the reins. Every movement was fluid, as if the horse had always known this strength but had been waiting for someone to help. It remembered aliens who had been traveling nearby, paused their work, and stared in disbelief, whispers running through the crowd that the frail horse from the auction had grown strong and radiant in ways no one could have imagined. Some approached cautiously, their eyes wide as they watched the horse move, its every step full of purpose and elegance. The girl remained calm and gentle, guiding it with quiet commands and light touches, and the horse responded with intelligence and precision. It turned and twirled, almost as if dancing with the wind. As the day progressed, the horse's movements became more spectacular, its strides stretching further and faster than before. It leaped small obstacles with ease, and its eyes shone with awareness and determination. The girl could feel a strange energy pulsing from it, a subtle warmth in the air around them that made the grass sway as if alive. She whispered encouragement and praise, and the horse responded, nuzzling her shoulder and tossing its head in excitement as if sharing the joy of discovery with her. By afternoon, the transformation had become undeniable to all who watched. The horse seemed almost otherworldly, its presence commanding attention and respect. Even the most skeptical aliens murmured in astonishment as they realized that the creature they had dismissed as weak and worthless now radiated power and beauty that could not be ignored. The girl smiled softly, knowing that this was only the beginning, and that the bond they had formed was the true source of this awakening strength. The horse paused at the edge of the field, breathing heavily, yet standing tall and proud, its coat glinting in its eyes bright with intelligence and emotion. The girl patted its neck softly, whispering that she had always believed in it, and that now the world could see what she had known all along. She felt the wind brush past them, carrying the sounds and scents of the alien world, and the warhorse nuzzled her hand, its spirit transformed but its loyalty and trust unbroken. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky with streaks of fire and amethyst, the girl and her horse stood together, the field glowing around them, a silent promise of adventures yet to come, and challenges waiting to be faced. Their bond had unlocked more than strength, it had awakened courage and magic, and the galaxy would never again overlook the once frail warhorse. One afternoon, as the twin suns hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the alien plains, the human girl and the warhorse were riding near the edge of a jagged canyon, when they heard a distant clamor of chaos. The wind carried the sharp, metallic screeches of raiders attacking a nearby settlement. The girl's heart tightened with concern and determination. She spurred the horse forward, urging it to move faster, and the creature responded instantly, its hooves pounding the ground with thunderous force, its muscles rippling with strength and precision that had once been unimaginably. They approached the settlement, smoke curled into the sky, and cries of alarm echoed across the valley. The aliens' raiders were enormous, with jagged armor and weapons that gleamed under the sun's light. They had already cornered the smaller inhabitants, trapping them in narrow streets and alleys without mercy. The girl gritted her teeth and leaned forward on the horse, guiding it toward the danger. She could feel its energy coiling beneath her as it prepared for the challenge ahead. The first clash was chaotic. The horse lunged forward, knocking aside obstacles and narrowly avoiding swinging blades. Its hooves struck with precision, carrying not only its weight, but the intent of courage and protection. The girl shouted commands and encouragement, her voice ringing clear over the sounds of battle, and the horse responded, anticipating her movements. Weaving through debris and leaping over fallen structures, its eyes glimmered with intelligence and focus, as if it had been born for this very moment. The raiders faltered as they saw the once frail warhorse charging toward them, full of strength and confidence. Their weapons clanged uselessly against its powerful body, and the sheer presence of the creature seemed to shift the tide of fear and control. They tried to regroup, but the horse's speed and agility kept it just out of reach, its hooves striking with accuracy and controlled power. Each movement guided by the girl's trust and steady hand. Villagers began to gather courage, inspired by the sight of the horse and its rider, the girl, pointing and shouting directions while the horse moved with grace and purpose. The raiders had underestimated the bond between human and creature, underestimating the courage that could arise from trust, patience, and determination. The horse reared and charged again, knocking a raider from a ledge, its mane flying wildly and eyes blazing with newfound fury and protection. Hours seemed to stretch as they battled together, moving through streets and alleys, the girl shouting guidance and encouragement while the horse responded to her instincts, every movement a testament to their connection, an unbreakable bond. Even when the horse stumbled slightly, she leaned close, whispering reassurance, and it immediately found its footing again with renewed determination. By the time the raiders fled into the horizon, the settlement was still standing, the inhabitants staring in awe at the warhorse and its human companion. The once timid, frail creature had become a hero, full of power, courage, and grace, and the girl knew that this test was only the beginning. Their bond had been tempered in the fires of challenge, and the warhorse had proven not only its strength but its intelligence and bravery. As the sun dipped below the alien horizon, painting the sky with streaks of crimson and violet, the girl patted the horse's neck softly, whispering that together they had faced the impossible and survived, and the horse nuzzled her shoulder in quiet understanding, ready for whatever adventures awaited them next in the galaxy that had once overlooked it. News of the human girl and the warhorse spread like wildfire across the nearby planets. At first it was whispered in market squares and over communication networks that the frail creature, once dismissed at an auction, had faced raiders and emerged victorious. The story traveled faster than any rumor, its details growing with every telling, but the essence remained the same: a weak, overlooked horse, transformed into a being of strength and courage, guided by the unwavering determination of a human girl. Space aliens paused in their routines to watch for signs of the legendary pair. Traders and travelers spoke in hushed tones about the creature that moved with grace and power that seemed almost otherworldly, and the girl whose bond with it had unlocked abilities no one had believed possible. Even alien warriors who had once scoffed at the horse at the auction now whispered with awe, recognizing that they had underestimated the potential that patience and trust could reveal. The girl and the warhorse traveled through cities and settlements on various planets, each encounter leaving observers stunned. The horse moved with strength and intelligence, every step calculated and elegant, its coat shining under alien suns, and the girl guiding it with gentle hands and quiet commands that carried authority without fear. The crowds gathered in marketplaces and along streets to witness the duo, their whispers growing into cheers as they watched the horse leap barriers and respond flawlessly to the girl's every direction. In one settlement, a group of alien children approached cautiously, their eyes wide with wonder. The girl knelt to greet them and let them stroke the horse's mane. The creature nuzzled the children gently, as if understanding their awe and curiosity, teaching them silently that courage and kindness could coexist. Its presence radiated power, tempered with gentleness, leaving an impression on all who encountered it. Merchants and officials sent word to distant planets hoping to witness the legendary horse themselves. Ambassadors traveled across star systems to pay respects and record sightings, and the story of the girl and her companion became a symbol of hope that transcended species and language. Even warriors known for their ruthlessness could not help but respect the bond that had transformed a weak creature into a being capable of inspiring courage and admiration. The girl watched the reactions of those they encountered, smiling softly as she stroked the horse's neck, whispering encouragement and praise for every movement it made. She knew that it was not only its strength that impressed others, but the quiet trust and partnership that had grown over time, that bond shining brighter than any spectacle of power as the suns set over a distant planet, casting streaks of amber and violet across the sky. The girl and the warhorse stood together on a hill, overlooking a valley full of observers. The horse's eyes glimmered with awareness and pride, and the girl patted its neck, whispering that they had become something more than legend, that they had become a reminder that strength came from trust, courage, and patience, and that even the most overlooked being could change the world. With the right companion around them, the wind carried the whispers of admiration, and the light of distant stars reflected off the horse's shimmering coat, signaling that their story was far from over, and that the galaxy had begun to take notice of a bond that could not be ignored, a bond that would inspire awe and hope for generations to come. The human girl and the warhorse traveled from planet to planet, their journey becoming the stuff of legends, whispered across spaceports and marketplaces, and sung in songs by travelers and merchants alike. Each new adventure brought challenges that tested their strength, courage, and intelligence, yet together they faced every obstacle with unshakable trust and determination. The horse moved with power and grace, every stride a testament to the patience and care that had nurtured it from a frail, overlooked creature into a hero of the galaxy. Every settlement they visited celebrated them not only for their victories, but for the inspiration they carried. The girl spoke gently to those she met, teaching lessons of patience, kindness, and the quiet strength that comes from believing in the potential of others. The horse nuzzled the innocent and the curious, allowing them to feel the warmth of courage and loyalty in its presence. The duo became a living symbol that greatness was not measured by appearance or initial strength, but by heart, courage, and the bond between companions. They encountered raiders once again in distant star systems, yet the horse and the girl faced them with strategy and skill, every movement fluid and precise. Each clash was met with a unity that seemed almost instinctual, the horse anticipating her commands and the girl guiding its power with confidence. The legend grew with each victory, and tale of their bravery traveled faster than the fastest ships the galaxy had ever known. At night they rested beneath alien stars, the sky stretching wide with colors no human eyes had seen before. The girl brushed the horse's mane, her fingers tracing the patterns of light that shimmered across its coat. She whispered softly, recounting the adventures they had faced together, and the ones that awaited them. Yet neither feared the unknown, for they had discovered the greatest strength of all, the bond between them, a trust that required no words and a loyalty that could not be broken. The horse would nuzzle her gently in response, its eyes shining with intelligence and understanding, as if it knew that they were partners, not just in battle, but in life. Each day brought growth and understanding, and the girl marveled at the creature she had saved and transformed from weakness to brilliance. The horse had learned to trust itself and its power, yet never forgot the gentle guidance that had unlocked its potential across planets. Aliens and humans alike began to tell stories not just of their victories but of the quiet moments, the patient touches, the whispered encouragements, and the trust that had changed everything. Their legend inspired others to see beyond appearances, to nurture those overlooked and underestimated, to believe that even the smallest spark could ignite a blaze of courage and greatness. As the suns set on another distant world, painting the horizon with streaks of gold and violet, the girl and her warhorse stood together atop a hill overlooking a valley alive with observers and admirers. The horse's coat shimmered in the fading light, its eyes bright with awareness and pride. The girl patted its neck, whispering softly that this was only the beginning, that together they could face all challenges, and that their story would live on in hearts and minds across the galaxy. And as the wind whispered through the alien grass and the stars blinked above them, the warhorse and the human girl shared a quiet moment of understanding, a bond forged in patience, courage, and trust, a bond that had transformed not just one creature but the hearts of countless beings across the universe, a legend of friendship, bravery, and the power of believing in what others could not yet see.